So I'll call the meeting to order. Is the Moretown Selectboard. We are here in the John Pogum Meeting Room, 79 School Street here in Moretown. We're also on the web tonight. And we do have Orca Media and we have Ira Shez. Is that how that's pronounced? Ira. And around the board we have... Yep, go ahead, Don. We have Don, Robin, and Mike, and we have Sasha here taking notes and making comments. So we'll see if there's any public comments, and we have a very light audience, and so I have no one there, and I don't think there's anyone on for public comment. So we'll wait for Don to... Oh, you sit down, Don, you get the light. Doesn't make that any better. We don't have anyone watching it anyways, aside from us. So.
I thought there was some Ira or something.
Yeah, well, it's on, but unless you want to.
Yeah. Okay. When he talks, I'd like to see him.
All right, well, we'll turn that right just like that, John. Or Don. How's that?
Hi, Ira.
All right, so our second agenda item, the final update on the village wastewater, and then Clark Amanon, and he's not going to make it tonight. So why don't we go ahead and the Mad River Valley Rec District, the Conservation Recreation Visioning. And I believe that is what Ira is on for. Is that correct, Ira?
He's not hearing us. He didn't hear me say hi.
Yeah, I was wondering whether he's... Let's make sure. All right, Ira, can you hear us now?
Definitely gotta get
Ira, can you hear us at all? No. Say again? Let me just see if I can send him a note.
Yeah, how's your meeting?
Great. Can't wait to get it.
I think you should give it to him in case.
I asked Jeff Poldinsky yesterday if he'd read it, and he said he would. So I just,
Listen, I don't know who that is.
oh, he's a lawyer. He lives up Southfield, but
They just glance at it for us.
that's what I said. Yeah. I didn't ask him. Like,
It's impossible. Maybe it's 74. It's
Man, you can see some errors in the sign, errors something.
I'm trying to...
T for
Yeah, I know.
history.
I tried to decipher from that photocopy and I was, maybe if we had the book numbers and we
I
go
think,
look at.
I think something like that. Isn't that an AI kind of thing?
Ira, can you hear us now?
You're saying that. It might be possible.
No. All right.
You can't hear us?
How is this?
Is this not like spun on here?
At least he's smiling.
Yeah.
I think this thing's unscrewed on all the way or something.
Ira, can you hear us now?
I can hear you now.
All right.
Oh.
Very good. Sorry about taking some time here, but
That's all right.
you didn't really mean anything. We called the meeting to order, then we skipped the first agenda item because Clark is not on, so we will be going right to you, the Mad River Valley Rec District, for the conservation visioning plan.
Great. Yeah. I'll just say, for those of you I don't know, my name is Ira Shaddis. I am the director of Friends of the Mad River. So I'm not actually here representing the rec district, but they're one of our partners in the conservation and recreation visioning project. So that is why I think that that label is tacked on there.
All right.
Yeah, for clarity's sake. So I'd like to, if it's all right, share my screen.
You may. Yep. I think it's permissions granted. If it's not, I can.
Okay. It doesn't look like it, but I hit the send request button. Okay, cool. Okay. I can't really see if you guys can see, but does this look like it?
Okay, we got it. Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so it seems like fairly, small group. So I would say, feel free to popcorn in questions as they come up. Interrupt me. No worries about that. I'm just going to give a sort of brief overview of what conservation and recreation visioning is, what we've been up to for the last couple years, and then we can have some discussion as time allows. And if you need to stop me, it's fine too. So conservation and recreation visioning, very big picture. The goal with this initiative was to figure out how to balance our sort of vibrant outdoor recreation, economy, culture, community with our responsibility as environmental stewards, and to sort of protect and preserve ecological integrity, in some cases restore ecological integrity across the watershed, and figure out how those two goals really can nestle alongside one another. So there's some text on these slides. I'm not going to read it, but I'm happy to share these slides as well for reference if you all would like. And so, this question being the kernel of this project, where did the project come from? And so, about 3.5 years ago now, my former boss, Corey Miller, was the director of Friends of the Mad River at the time. Got together with Phil Huffman of the Waitsville Conservation Commission and started meeting with folks in the recreation community and just started, begging this question: how can we best address this balance? And so then this opportunity arose with this state funds, VOREC, which is the Vermont Outdoor Recreation Economic Collaborative, which is this big pot of money that became available to support recreation, economic development activities. But we were able to, because we had begun these baseline conversations, we were able to wrap into a much bigger package, $408,000 grant that went towards improvements at the Chamber of Commerce, at the Welcome Center, the new bridge over the Millbrook, additional parking and landscaping, et cetera. We were also able to include money to support this conservation and recreation visioning initiative, and bring together other recreation groups, other conservation commissions into what became the last couple years of sort of collaborative dialogue. In addition to the VOREC funding, we did also get funding from other folks. See the logos here, some local, some broader, and that all paid for really significantly, in addition to some time in sort of the just administration of the grant and supporting our ability to have these funds. We were able to bring on a consultant who worked with us for 2 years 2.5 years, more or less, and really help facilitate this really rich conversation between recreation groups and conservation organizations. So you can see the list. We settled on a steering committee structure with co-chairs, and we went through some extensive structuring of our governance early on. And then we were able to really dive into sort of the meat of this question. So you can see there's sort of representation from across the valley, recreation, conservation, sort of the geography of the community as well. And so we had a lot of far-ranging conversations about what this all could look like. And I'm sure all of you have different ideas about what that balance might be. And with such a large group, we had a lot of rich conversation, and eventually we were able to sort of narrow our focus down onto a need for shared information, a sort of common ground between recreation groups and conservation groups, to be able to come to be able to have more effective communication as we talk about our own individual organizations' goals, as we in a sense try and hold each other accountable and build understanding between these different groups. And so in pursuit of this shared information, we wanted to essentially develop some reference materials. And these are really the heart of the work. These are the sort of the most tangible outcomes of our efforts the last couple of years. And so these include an online mapping tool that is focused on both sort of the ecological assets that we have already in place, and there's some insights into sort of recreation use patterns and build out that already exists. And I'll pop all these on the screen in a second, but just to give an overview, we also drafted a shared vision, values, and guiding principles statement and document that really outlines the vision that we're looking at about responsible stewardship of the landscape, a thoughtful build out of a mature sort of recreation economy and network, the awareness and protection and sort of commitment amongst not only the conservation community, but also amongst the recreation partners to support an ecologically robust and healthy landscape. And then, as we get into some more detail, sort of nitty gritty elements of it, we also created this recreational trail development process guide. There's nothing groundbreaking in there, but it does sort of shape the conversation about trail best practices into the context of this conservation recreation visioning cohort, this group of folks, and really encourages, as trail builders are out there identifying and developing trails, to bring in the sort of environmental and ecological partners into the process, to bring that perspective in early on, so that decisions can be made in an informed manner. So if I'm going to talk about the next steps, what we sort of have coming, and then I'll circle back around and we can poke through those different documents. Particularly the map would be fun, I think, to explore. So we have worked together for the last couple of years. We've sort of created these documents, and we've also have a whole laundry list of sort of other ideas and opportunities for further collaboration that we've identified. And so the last few years have been really intense. We've met almost monthly. I was also the chair of one of the working groups, so I was meeting with members of this group twice a month. And so to take a step back from that sort of intense cadence, but to maintain some degree of focus on this, we've settled on a quarterly meeting structure and a sort of model where some of the projects or initiatives that were identified in the last couple of years have individual sort of leaders, little champions who will take those projects and build a cohort or a smaller group to work on them, and then bring them back to the quarterly meetings to provide updates. And so, we have this sort of vision. We recognize that I have two very important things. One, and we don't intend to be this at any point. We're not a regulatory body. We don't intend to play that kind of role. This is really just about sort of putting our best foot forward and sort of leading by example. And so we want to maintain this sort of collaborative dialogue, maintain this space where we're really keeping these dual values connected with each other. And then also, as I noted, there are some individual projects that we're seeking to undertake. So I'm going to pop out of this view for a second, just to highlight some of our next steps, some of the priorities we've identified. So a big piece of what we're working on right now is going around to select boards, other groups in the community, planning commissions, Rotary Club, Chamber of Commerce, et cetera, and providing this roadshow, giving a chance to highlight the work we've been doing, to connect people to these resources, to answer any questions. And then just a few other sort of top priorities that we're working on. In addition to this sort of shared vision document, we identified the need for a sort of shared code of ethics. Think like going to Kingdom Trails or somewhere where they have a sort of, best practices for how to recreate in that space. And so I've been on the group that's been working on that with Bob Kogut from the Riders and Misha Golfman from the Path. Those two and I have been working the last couple of months to draft up a code of ethics and a video that will go along with that. We also have identified in the mapping work that there's sort of uneven quality of wildlife corridor mapping between the towns in the valley across the watershed. And so we've started to explore opportunities to bring in some consultant support to beef up that mapping and get it all to sort of a similar level of quality. And then we've just started to light the, kindling for this next point, but we are, we've identified that while certainly the leadership of the community, select boards, and the sort of leadership that participated in CRV are a key audience for advancing this vision. Ultimately, it's a lot of private landowners making a lot of decisions on their property. And so we're just starting to beg the question of, what is the best vehicle for bringing the information we've gathered and engaging with that particular audience. So let me just pause there. So a lot of sort of big picture stuff. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second so I can see all of you. I'm curious if there are any big burning questions, and if not, I could spend a couple minutes showing you the map, which I think would be a cool exercise for you to see sort of what this base layer of information is that we've gathered.
That was a lot of information. Before we go on, Mike or Robin, Don, any questions?
There's a lot to digest, but what you've just shown us, are you gonna send that to us?
Yeah, I'll send along this whole slide deck for sure.
Okay.
And there's a lot of, it's everything I've said is sort of written out in a bulleted way in that. And the links to the resources are in the slide deck. They're also on the Recreation District's website, but they'll also be migrating to the Planning District's, the Meadow Valley Planning District's website as well.
Cool. You just so you know, we're looking at just on a screen. We've had some projector problems, so we're looking at this on.
Yeah, it's kind of small.
Very small, so.
Okay, so maybe the map is not going to be. It's pretty fiddly. And I would be happy to another time to come back and poke around that with you. But it's.
I definitely wouldn't mind looking at it.
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
Yeah, maybe I can get it up on my phone so I can at least look at, on my own leisure or whatever.
Yeah.
couldn't quite get the URL for the whole thing.
Hey, I guess I have a quick question. One of your earlier slides, you don't have to go back. You're saying you guys want an online mapping tool. Are you talking about like some sort of like ArcGIS platform or like
Yep.
something like that? And then I guess just who does that platform serve and for what purpose? Like, is that just so the public say can go be at the website and then locate different trails for different types of recreation that are within the district, or?
It's a great question. So, first question, yes, this is a Esri-based sort of ArcGIS mapping tool. So that's what I've pulled up on the screen here. So these are all layers that exist in a geodatabase. We worked with Arrowwood Environmental Consulting to compile these layers, and there's a ton here. What's showing up right now on the map is just the trails, and these are sort of mapped public trails where the owner of the land or the manager of the trails has agreed to have them on this map. To be totally clear, this does not represent every single trail in the valley, nor could it really ever. And then the second question is a great one, and I think there's a couple layers to the answer. The first one really is that the steering committee members, the members of Conservation Recreation Visioning, were the first audience for this. This was just a chance for us to get some common understanding of what recreational build out looked like in the community and what sort of the ecological assets are in the watershed as well. And so a lot of the structure here is geared towards being able to represent those different assets. So just as an example, we can pop on a few different ecological assets. And as you see, as I click on these different assets, so early succession forests, bare wetlands, mast stands, deer winter habitats, you can see the map starts to fill in with these different sort of mapped resources.
Right. Oh, sorry. But so then all those are just like VCGI data, like publicly available data layers or something that are being referenced, or?
Yeah, they are. I mean, there was some parsing that was done, and these are all, they're not live linked to like the state database. They are sitting in our own storage somewhere. And so that means that they don't automatically update either. And I know that we pulled from a couple different areas, including some data that Arrowwood Environmental has themselves because of mapping work they've done with some of the towns. So they've done Warren's wildlife corridor mapping. So that information is not in the VCGI, but I mean, it's still public.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so, you know, I think with I'll just say, like, to wrap up, the point is making, like, with CRV members as the core audience, you know, this tool is a chance when someone has an idea for a new trail, or they're thinking about maintenance for the trail, or closure of a trail, or if, you know, in the environmental side, you know, I'm looking at the conservation of a particular parcel or restoration activity in a particular area of the watershed. We can bring this to those quarterly meetings, or to, you know, sort of one-off meetings with our partners, our recreation partners, or vice versa, and have this just tool that we can just pull this information right up and look at together, that we're all fairly familiar with at this point. The next audience, as I mentioned, you know, is really thinking about the leadership of the community, and you know, getting this out in front of planning commissions and select board members, and just giving you a chance all to, you know, poke around in here and explore and ask questions, and you know, and we can sort of gather that information and think about what edits we might make, what other information we might pursue. And then the third audience that I mentioned is, you know, private landowners. And like I said, we don't have a concrete plan for exactly how to deliver this information to them. I'll say this map can be really overwhelming for people that are not familiar with this kind of tool. And the goal is not necessarily just to, you know, paint a a confusing picture, but rather to just be able to engage with landowners in a way that really gets this bigger vision across. And so we've got some questions internally to the steering committee, but then also that I'm sort of posing to everyone I talk to about this. What would be good ways to present this information to private landowners? What ideas do you have? What venues do you have? And that's really the sort of call to action on the back end of this this presentation, is really just to get feedback on this tool from all of you, to encourage you all to use it, so that we can bring that information to our future quarterly meetings.
Well, good. I think if you go ahead, Ira, and send the deck, which I guess we will include the links to Sasha, and then she can distribute it to the board. We can keep it on our old business pending, and we'll circle back in a month or so and ask some questions about it, and maybe get you back or send you some comments, depending on how everyone feels.
Great, appreciate it. Yeah, and I'm happy to come back and dig into it. I wasn't able to come in person, but I hopefully could in the future, and it might be easier to sit down and look at it together that way.
Yeah. That's really exciting.
I just have one quick kind of question, comment. How does this all tie into to what I understand it as a state and several organizations trying to put this whole wildlife corridor together through, that travels like the state of, the distance of Vermont. I know that our planning commission has been looking into some areas of where land will be protected in our town plan and stuff to tie into this wildlife.
Yeah.
What do you know about that? And are you working with that as well?
Yeah, I would say that in a practical sense, we're not really working with any specific partners beyond our sort of cohort. Not that we wouldn't. I just think we've been sort of focused, on this process up to this point. I can say, personally, like there are people at the state. There's groups like Cold Hollow to Canada. There are some really good mapping exercises and sort of there's some great research out there about where these larger sort of connective corridors are in the landscape. And we know that they are north and south along the Green Mountains, and we know that they're north and south along the Northfield Range. The Mad River Valley definitely plays a pretty vital role, sort of connecting. You imagine the corridor running southwest to northeast, right? Running from, sort of the southern end of Lake Champlain, where wildlife can get under the lake, up into Canada. One of the questions that we have locally is about east-west corridors throughout the valley, crossing the valley bottom, and some of the impediments to wildlife there. Certainly the river is significant, but and then Route 100 and sort of the development along the valley bottom floor as well. And so when we talk about updating our local data, a lot of it is geared towards identifying those areas where there are effective road crossings, or potentially even one thing Friends of the Mad River we look into are like culvert upsizing, where you can have not only better, safer culverts and better fish passage, but you can also have terrestrial passage. Animals can walk underneath. So as projects come up, as we're working on them, we try and do what we call 1.2 times bank full width to make the culvert wide enough that, a moderately sized animal could pass through it.
Well, something to keep in mind, and maybe we won't do this tonight, but then also trail impact, to the wildlife. So, which I don't know that much about, but certainly I'm sure it's something you think about with the team.
That was one of the early topics of conversation, and it has sustained throughout this whole time. And I will just say there's a lot of research and there's not enough research. The data is all over the place when it comes to trail impacts on on wildlife. And so, you know, we while we lean into good science and good research, you know, I think we've kind of had to accept that in that particular area, there's not a single answer that we're going to get. And so it comes more down to how our community sort of values wild spaces or spaces without trails, and how we might find space for those.
Good.
Yeah.
Ira, thank you. Any other questions around the table? All right. Yeah, Ira, thank you for taking the time tonight. And we look forward to receiving your files.
Cool. All right. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you. All right, so things are moving right along. I was looking at my phone. I was wondering if those trails would be on, and I was looking at the app. I couldn't remember the app. I was going to ask, but then I finally found out. Is it all trails that all the hiking trails are on around here? And I was wondering.
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to wait till I get his thing.
And so I didn't know where all those trails are on.
Oh, I don't know. They might be. You might not be able to answer that question, or you might just know. I don't know how like apps like that, like All Trails and
Get their stuff.
yeah, like where they source that data from, but
No, that's time with biking.
Yeah.
right.
I couldn't think of it. I couldn't find it. And then I was like, oh,
I definitely like that multi-layer with the wildlife habitat on it, the area.
yeah. So. All right, so we have some reports of things. Before we get started, Sasha, one thing so we don't forget, could you reach out to Mike Ketchel and ask him about some kind of a video screen for rather than this thing here? Preferably something that's wireless, so we're not fooling around with wires. And that I think the most things are fairly reasonable these days where you can get something that look nice.
I told mentioned that I had gone to a meeting in Warren. If you wanted, maybe call them and ask them what they have going, but.
Yeah, check with those best.
A nice size screen, same to fit here.
Yeah, you could get something fairly large.
Yeah,
And
in the
us old people can see.
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't say, I meant Warren.
Warren.
Yeah. All right, Sasha, what do you have for us?
Ross, that
Yeah.
you guys talked to Ray about, Fletcher Road people are scheduled to be at the next meeting.
So on that, and I've asked Sasha to send everyone around the link that the state had sent us. You may already have, or it's back in your email at some
Yeah,
place, but she's going to resend it to us. And so
With the design thing.
with a design in their recommendation. So if everyone could take a few minutes to go over that, so that we know what we're all
Yeah, we're all on the same page.
page, or at least know, we don't have to educate ourselves during that meeting, because we'll be educating the
There's basically new truss on the same footprint kind of.
type of thing is what they're. I think the big question there is going to be whether we do a
Closure, the
pedestrian stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So take a look at that. All right, Sasha, sorry to interrupt.
And the two warrants.
Right, and so while we're on next meeting, we also are going to be talking about the purchase policy. So she's going to send or resend the current purchase policy. So, take a look at that, have some thoughts about, maybe what you think you'd like to see changed or not, or some experience you have elsewhere that might work here. And I've also asked her to reach out to the Finance Committee to see if there's anyone there that wants to stop in at the meeting as well, or send any comments if they have comments or questions.
Is the finance committee who's working on the purchasing policies essentially, or like just?
No, they are not. We'll take a look at what we currently have, but that's why I'm asking them is really to come in for their input, or
Still relevant.
or not. Yeah.
No, wouldn't change.
Because actually that would be good, because I'm finding in my mission on the buildings and stuff, fixing, facilities committee, there's some things that I'm trying, that I could get done and expedite. And, I have someone who can do it, and then not to have to maybe get if it's small enough, to have to get two prices. You know,
Yeah,
because
right.
it's so hard to get people, and so.
These days,
Someone,
they don't-
goes, yeah, I
yeah.
can do that in 3 weeks, it's this much, and
Right.
if it was, we
Right,
could talk about that.
Yeah.
right, and how we make those decisions because you know, the principles behind the purchasing policy are this, but different times, different things, different amendments.
You know, I get it, it's a whole, you know, a certain
It,
thing.
it wasn't meant to delay projects, it's meant to
Right.
make sure we, could, you know, we're, you know, covering our bases and getting
Yeah,
the cheapest
best deal.
price and, you know, getting the
We're
job done.
looking for value, so we may have to find value different
We
places.
end up, we can't get the job done because we can't, you know, get three guys to come down on a certain day, or one guy's like, you know.
Absolutely. All right, Sasha, sir. Is that it? All right. Well, Robin, do you have anything, and that could include old business, new business, communications?
New business. Oh, no, my communications, I haven't got back to Mary on that other thing, so.
All right, Mike, how about yourself?
No, I mean, we talked about, signage at the gravel pit last week, but we didn't go anywhere on that, but, yeah, so I don't think so.
All right, that's good news. Don, what do you got for us this week? You must.
Well, tomorrow night, if who's ever planning commission meeting
So the,
at 6:40, or,
Did it?
I
Okay.
mean, 6:45. When I went to the last one, I showed at 6:45, they started at 6:30 because they didn't, you know, I'm saying this would happen here. So anyways, you know, have that on your calendar if you can. Just more fest coming up. I'm gonna be working with Sasha and maybe trying to put something in there that would about community engagement that I mentioned the last meeting, you know, because I've seen some postings from Montpelier telling here's the committees that are available, but talking to Chris, there will be quite a number of organizations and committees at Morefest, so with that sort of like, hey, if you want to get involved with your town,
right,
you can come to Morefest and
Yep.
visit,
Right.
see all these different groups and show them, you know, chat with them and stuff, so.
yeah,
I try to do something like that. And then
yeah, I read
also-
that blurb, but that seemed to be
Yeah.
great, you know, throw that in the front porch and add the Morefest.
Yeah.
You know, addition.
Something like that.
Links to either one of.
And then,
Carol.
so with the current dryness, I mean, who makes the call on fireworks?
Stefan.
Because it's, you know, we're in. I mean, I know we got out and,
Grants today, Don.
Yeah.
you know,
It rained here, but not.
you know, that rain doesn't do anything, but it ain't.
And how would it beer tent this year, so everyone's gonna be ready?
I was gonna also mention-
We'll have men's stations.
It's more fast before our next meeting.
Yes.
So just to mention, you know, maybe we could all bump into each other in at the beer tent and have a beer together, just,
Sure could.
so, you know,
Yeah.
And that's,
something like that, you know.
Did you dig, this is kind of old business, did you find that, plan for the sand pile? You said you had like.
Yeah, no, I do have a plan, but I know you're right, I didn't dig it out,
Okay,
but I wrote it down again, going like, I forgot.
yeah.
So I'll dig it out.
Okay.
Send you a note, and we can look at it.
Gotcha.
In fact, you came with me on a couple of those.
Well, we were looking at, and we never did anything, we were
We
looking,
did it with Craig Ostello, remember? Oh, you weren't with me.
no, we were looking at the trees next to
Yeah.
the fire lane, but then
Yeah.
but we never did anything. So I don't know, maybe next time. I
Thanks for reminding.
Talk to Martin,
Yeah,
talk to him about that, maybe. Those tree, I don't know if you go.
Yeah,
Those trees are like, the roots are obviously really compacted, so we were talking about putting just some sort of.
well, that's the hardwoods on the side.
Right, the part of like,
Yeah.
we're talking about some sort of ring around them, right, just to like.
So let me
To
get-
try to protect the roots some, but we also don't want to take like space away from what they need to do, but so then we just never did anything. That was a few years ago now.
And they're still alive, so,
Well, it's, feeling, but they're hanging on. So Mike, as you see, we're trying to look into this thing with the deed. Mary Murphy has asked me about, you know, if we've been able to figure anything out yet.
Yeah.
Because they're wondering with heating season coming up, like who's gonna be responsible for the heat now that, you know. I said I have no idea, we hadn't really had a chance to get into it because we really need to understand
Right.
who owns the building, so,
So we're still
you know.
budgeting the money with the library committee, aren't we? For their heat for that building.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any question.
Well, are we?
It's gonna, the building's gonna be heated.
Yeah,
Heated.
yeah.
We're gonna need it.
And it's coming out of this big pocket here, whether
Yeah,
it's circles
the
this
heat
way or
is
circles this way.
secondary to the whole thing, I mean, that's.
No, I mean, just also to find, because facilities committees,
Yeah,
we haven't even really gone there yet, but. The roof's looking old, and I mean, there's gonna be some work that has to be done there, so it'll be interesting to find
and I
out.
think Sasha sent this.
Is it a town building?
Yeah, she did,
Is it a building that
Somebody
maybe we don't even wanna keep?
I think it's probably
No.
20.
Right.
I mean, hold it to
292.
I don't, yeah.
Yeah, let's try to get that.
Let's get that figured out if we can.
Well, the heat is, I mean, we'll make sure that it's
Yeah.
heated, whether,
Yeah.
22, 3 and 94.
School drainage is done deal now?
I believe it's
Yeah.
all done, the work is done.
Oh, great.
Oh.
It's supposed to be done by, start of school, so I haven't know, look,
I want to
Take
take it out.
maybe tonight, it's early night, maybe I'll do
And
that.
come down and take that out.
I know that, Callie is, I did get a text from someone. Which I wish I can't find, wife read it, you know, I was driving, asking about if we were, if the ATVs were being discussed, you know. On
Right.
town roads, which they haven't really, and I know, Callie's gonna try to spearhead that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. I know she
I
tried
was
to
just
get
gonna bring it up as a reminder, only
Yeah.
because someone.
No, I think that's a good
Yeah,
idea.
she's trying to get a
It's
meeting.
been a little while, it's been a couple of years
Yeah.
since she's been working on that, so that should be.
So just, and, that's about it, I mean,
Sure, whatever, we have plenty of time here.
yeah, I mean, Frank, Ray will give us another update about FEMA shortly, I'm sure, so the company can really.
Yeah, no, yeah, you've got, that's been, as he said last time he was here, seeing some emails, there was another one this morning, they were signing off on. You know, a couple 100,000, they're just. A little slow, but they just keep holding, crossing your fingers, don't say too much, don't get yourself in the spotlight, just. You know, let's just continue to submit and, follow the rules.
There you go.
That's it, well, I don't wanna feel like I'm bugging you, know, no word about Frank, yeah, that's still.
Well, that's, again,
Is that just,
so remember, it's the same update, but. So there was a status conference.
oh, there was.
There was a status conference. Frank nor his attorney showed up. So, there had been a, date was made and it was towards the end of October, I think, before trial was supposed to start. And then, the new judge was reassigned to the quarter or half or whatever, however long they're assigned. And that guy, was previously Ron's law partner.
Oh, so you had to recuse him.
So the judge had to recuse himself from that particular case. And so the clerk of the court sent us a note, said she was looking for a new judge and that she would, let us know as soon as she got.
Okay.
Wow.
So you can't make stuff done. I mean,
I know. It's been amazing.
you know, there's always something.
God, it's good, yeah.
Yeah, yes. What else? You got
Okay,
in there?
no, that's it, no, I'm good tonight, it's good.
All right, I don't think there's, we've, I guess, brought up everything, the only thing that we need to do, we do need to go into executive session to discuss the Charles A. Davis Fund.
Okay.
We had,
Curious about
Okay.
you know, a couple of weeks ago, we had a
Yeah.
request there, so I'd like to take care of that tonight. And I think that is it. We've got just the other things, we already talked about to make sure we're ready for next meeting when we have the two bigger topics, the, purchasing and also the bridge people. And then I think that's it. I mean, again, pretty slow night.
Yeah, that's before we know.
Yep, let's go ahead and do that. So I'd move to approve the minutes of August 18th, 2025. Thank you, Mike. Is there any discussion on those at all or changes? All right, for all in favor of approving the minutes, vote aye.
All right.
Aye. Thank you. And Trish, I think that's it, right, for us then? Yeah, just those few warrants that we have. So I'd move to go into executive session to discuss the Charles A. Davis Fund. and such, you can just look back on whatever statute it was. Is there a second there? Second, Don will second that. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Thank you, and it'll be just the four of us.